Hello everyone, welcome to my channel PhD Chats. I'm so glad to have you here. If this is your first time on this channel, we will be chatting and discussing everything relationships, teaching, education, family, marriage, and taking care of yourself, right? Self-care. So this series is about 10 tough questions about each of those topics. So I'm excited that you're here and let's get ready to dive in. Welcome to my YouTube channel, PhD Chats. You clicked on the link when you didn't have to, and for that, I am grateful. Subscribers, thank you for keeping the conversation going. And if this is your first time at Chats with Petal, get ready to ponder, heal, and dream. So the questions I'm about to answer are a combination of questions I saw on Google, questions I see people asking all the time on Instagram, questions that people may have asked me in the past. So I haven't really dived into the questions. I really wanted my responses and my thinking to the questions to be authentic. So I didn't practice them beforehand. I'm really answering them in real time, just giving my best heartfelt, authentic response to them. And then when I watch the video, if I feel that there's something I might have wanted to say, I may add something in at the end, right? But the best part is I really want you to comment. And if you think that there's a question that I answered in a way that's different from the way you would answer it, I want you to tell me, right? So I'm going to start with marriage and relationships. So let's dive in. Question number 1. How do you keep love alive when peace is missing? How do you keep love alive when peace is missing? So, I think that you should address the peace first. I think if you are in a relationship with someone and the idea of a bonded lifelong relationship is authenticity and transparency, if you don't have peace, then that means that there is some issue, some situation that is not sitting well with you. And as opposed to bringing that to your partner in a safe, trusting, respectful space, you are holding on to that for yourself. And it's causing you to be distracted and it's causing inner turmoil. So I don't know if it's a good idea to keep love alive if there is no peace. I think you should address that peace. And I think that would be an offshoot of your love for that person, that you want, your relationship to be authentic and you want transparency. So yeah, how do you keep love alive when there's no peace? I say address the peace, right? Question number 2. What happens when only one partner is evolving? I've gotten this question before, and I've also, Rod and I have spoken with couples who, have been in a space where they feel that one person's dreams and visions are outgrowing or surpassing the other person. So I think the marriage can still work. I think once the core themes of commitment are there, then you understand that in a partnership that part of your growth is to bring someone with you, and part of your growth is to help that person to see, why you're motivated to go in the direction you're going, why this growth brings you happiness, and what this happiness could mean for your relationship. So if you are evolving or changing and the other person isn't there, then you give them grace and you have patience and you share the benefits and the joy of this growth and evolution in your own life. And if love is there and that person cares about you, then your joy brings them joy and your growth is going to be an inspiration for them. So that's my response to that question. I think that the marriage can still work and people move and thrive in different paces and at different rates and in different ways. And both of you should be benefiting from everything that falls under the category of improvement, and either partner should be benefiting each of you. So if one person is evolving and the other isn't, I think that the relationship overall should have a positive effect. Why do we stay? Do we stay for love, fear, or out of habit? So why do people stay in lifelong relationships? I believe it's a combination of all of them. And I believe that you should remain in a space of authentic transparency. If you hear me say those words repeatedly, it's because part of my belief system is that if you have kindness, if you have truthfulness, and if you have commitment, then I believe any relationship can work with those three core values. Because if you are authentic and you are true and you are kind in how that truth is delivered, and you are committed to this relationship working even when it's not feeling so great, then I feel therein lies the success of a bonded lifelong relationship dynamic. So that's why I keep coming back to the theme of truthfulness and honesty, because I think that is really a core foundation of a successful relationship. So back to the question, why do we stay in love? Yes, people definitely stay in relationships where the relationship is no longer serving them because it's no longer safe. There may be something in that relationship that is toxic or dysfunctional to a point that it is unhealthy for their well-being, and that could be a plethora of things. However, sometimes it may be difficult to separate someone from their actions. So they may still love the person, even though they strongly disagree with that person's actions. So they might stay in an unhealthy relationship because they love the person or they love that person's potential. But in the moment, the person's actions might not be appropriate for the commitments they made to each other. So love may keep you there. The question says, why do we stay? It doesn't say in an unhealthy relationship in parentheses, but I will just assume that that's what it means. In fear, absolutely, right? There is a huge stigma about divorce. There's a huge stigma around breakups. And sometimes when you are in a relationship with someone for a long time, that person also has relationships with people in your life, with family members and friends. So the effect of your breakup can reverberate and affect other relationships, and it becomes uncomfortable and unpleasant, and navigating that space is daunting and fearful. So people remain in relationships just because that transition is so uncomfortable and complex. So I think definitely fear could keep someone in an unhealthy relationship. And out of habit, well, we are creatures of habit, and sometimes we can definitely be going through the motions. We do things in relationships just because that's what we always do. And we may norm some things that are not particularly healthy, or they're just dry, right? We may just, the way we greet each other, or the fact that there is no conflict, but there's no spark. So we're just in a relationship because it works and it's okay. That happens a lot in relationships and marriages where there is children involved, because the children then become the epicenter of the relationship. And so just the habitual getting up, going to work, coming home, having dinner, doing homework with the kids, going to bed, even when kids are not part of the dynamic, the habit, even though it's not thriving and the relationship isn't flourishing, it's just safe. And sometimes we're not committed to doing the work of building that relationship, right? Sometimes we're not committed to doing the work of healing that relationship and just injecting some life into that relationship. So we just stay there because it's okay. It's comfortable, it's a habit, and it's a norm. Question number 4. How do we balance transparency with healthy privacy? So again, this is a very hot, controversial topic in relationships, especially in the advent of technology. 50 years ago, couples were not discussing whether they should share the passwords for each other's emails or the code for their phone, right? The passcode for their phones. But now couples are. I think it should be shared, right? I think transparency is more important than healthy privacy. I don't think it's more important. I think transparency is kind of the goal of marriage. The goal of marriage is oneness, that these two people that come together and now become each other's person, and the most important person in your life is now the person that you want to pursue every experience with, share every experience with, face every challenge with, enjoy the pleasures of life with. And you want that relationship to make you a better person. You want to be the best version of yourself for that person, and you want to see that person be the best version of themselves, and you want to contribute to who that person is and be receptive to their feedback. And it's this wonderful fusion of two minds and a beautiful balance of compromise and selflessness and transparency and oneness, so that you can really be aware and see that person and understand very intricate parts of their life. So oneness and closeness is the purpose of the marriage relationship and of the bonded lifelong relationship. So I think transparency is more important than individualism. If something was being discussed and you felt that it felt like my privacy is being infringed upon, but disclosing that information would contribute to the closeness of your relationship, I think it's a win if you lay that bare and you share that information in a safe, trusted space, and you contribute to the growth and health of your relationship, as opposed to keeping something private so that you feel like your right to privacy is being sustained. So I would say if there's a piece of information that is being discussed as to should it be shared with your committed lifelong partner, or should it be kept to yourself to honor your privacy, I would go with transparency. I think that is such a foundational part of what committed lifelong relationships are, that I would say transparency trumps individual privacy. The next question is, why does accountability matter more than just loyalty? These questions are complex. So yes, I think that you should have an accountability system in your marriage. I think you have to be open to feedback from someone that you're committed to be doing life with. I think it's important that the person who is giving you that feedback is clothing, and just enveloping that feedback in kindness and love, and that it's purposeful. If I'm holding someone accountable, I'm doing that in a kind, respectful way, recognizing that that person's actions may not have a negative intent, but out of genuine concern and out of wanting them to be the best that they could be, I feel that, based on what I saw you say or what you did, I feel that it didn't rise to who I see you as. And I want to hear from you that, tell me about your thought process around your actions. I'm concerned. So I think that accountability is important. And I think you have to be brave enough to hold someone accountable. And I think not holding a partner accountable is it's not love, and it's not kind. Actually, it's just in the same way that a permissive parent just allows that child to crash and burn, and they see them make mistakes, and they allow them because they're afraid to discipline them, or they're afraid to lose the love of this child, or they're afraid that child might prefer the other parent over them. So they give and they let. That is not love. That is fear in that person that is crippling them from really holding the person that they love accountable and setting up healthy boundaries. So if you are in a committed relationship, I think you have to hold your partner accountable because you love them. And then if you bring something to them, then you can both kind of discuss and compromise and come together and see if the action itself warrants the conversation. But I don't think that you should just watch your partner make a series of poor choices and just say, I'm sticking beside you, and this is the person I'm loyal to, and not hold them accountable to their choices. I think that is not love. That is not kindness. To see someone destroying themselves, hurting someone, the lesser version of themselves, and not holding them accountable. So I can love you. I think you can have both. I can love you and I can be loyal to you, but my love will be represented in my accountability. So yeah, you need a combination of both for sure. How do you forgive without betraying yourself? Forgiveness, like love, is one of those very nuanced, deep, intricate, complex conversations. It means a different thing to everybody, right? So I think it's important that if you are in a relationship with someone, a bonded, lifelong relationship, that you definitely discuss what those big, heavy words mean to both of you, because based on our bringing and our socialization, everyone is going to have a different perspective. So my understanding of forgiveness is that I am no longer holding you accountable to repay me for the wrong that you did. I'm no longer looking to you to help me heal the hurt that you caused me. I'm releasing any accountability from you, or I'm releasing any obligation that you have to apologize to me. I'm forgiving you. I'm severing that tie between the hurt you caused me and you as a person. And I think forgiveness also is me letting go of the need to see the same thing that you did to me visited on you. I think the universe takes care of that. I believe in karma. I think that it is a biblical principle, seed time and harvest. What you sow in the world is going to be what you reap. So I feel peace about that. If someone has wronged me, it's not going to be instant, of course, but over time, I believe that you can really forgive and just say, I'm leaving that. This hurt me, and I am just leaving that right where it is, and I'm no longer discussing this with that person. I'm not looking to them to be part of my healing process. It doesn't mean that the hurt goes away. It doesn't mean that you forget. It doesn't mean that you are going to be a best buddy with that person. It doesn't mean that when you see them, you're not going to think of the things that they've done to wrong you. But it means that you have recognized that person's error and that person's unkindness was part of your journey. And you have to figure out over time how you can learn from that experience, that dark experience, how you can extract a principle from that pain, and how you can be a better person after this, and give yourself the time you need to heal. If you need support, sometimes hurts require us to get support from outside. We need therapy, we need a friend, we need a confidant. We need to spend time alone, like literally talking it out to ourselves and thinking about it. So go through your healing process, and you can be true to yourself. Recognize that your hurt is valid, that your anger is valid, that your disgust is valid. Everything you feel about that situation is valid, but you're no longer looking to that person to be the person that, pays you back, fills in the void, fixes what they did, owes you an apology. You separate that person from what they did to you, and you just let them. And then, depending on the act, depending on the infraction, then that would determine whether or not a relationship is going to continue or exist, right, or thrive or end, right? And all of those are reasonable outcomes after forgiveness. It doesn't mean you forgive someone and you run into them and you give them a big hug and a kiss and I forgive you. That's in the movies, but that's not real. But I think the most important thing is that your forgiveness is an indication that you are not desiring harm to come to that person. You're not taking them in your heart. There's no resentment. There's no negative feelings toward that person, and you're not expecting them to be part of the process of healing for you. That's my interpretation of forgiveness. So I think if you do it that way, if you take as long as you need to heal, and you are true to yourself and you're honest with yourself about how you feel, and you create whatever boundary you need with that person subsequent to the pain and the hurt they caused you, then you're still being true to yourself, you're being fair to yourself, and you're forgiving the person, right? And how they interpret your actions really is not really your responsibility, right? You can communicate that to them. They may receive it. Not everyone is receptive of the space that you're in. But again, I think if you clothe anything that you wrap in kindness and good intentions, it increases the possibility that it will be well received. So you just share with them that this is what you did. This is how I felt. As a result of that, this is what I have to do. So the answer to that question is yes. I think you can forgive someone without betraying yourself. What does healthy disagreement really look like? A healthy disagreement does not have interjections. It's just like in the classroom. It's a one-voice situation. The one person speaking at a time. I think we also have to be respectful. At the same time, we have to accept that anger looks a certain way. So because someone is raising their voice or because someone's making a certain face, it doesn't mean they hate you or they're disrespecting you. That's just how humans behave when they're upset, right? So I think even though we want the disagreement to remain within the confines of respect, we also want to allow people to be human, right? So while we're disagreeing, we're not going to have the best voices, and we're not going to sit and say, okay, I have finished speaking, it's your turn. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. Wait till I'm finished, hear me out. I want to hear you out. I'm not trying to win. I think when we have a disagreement, I think it's important to set a goal. Like, what are we working on here? What is the ultimate goal? Because you can disagree and say, I agree, about, I think it's red, you think it's blue, red. Like, what is the goal? So we don't see this eye to eye, but is it important for us to agree on it? Why do we need agreement? Like, is there a decision to be made? And if there is, what does compromise look like? Where is the halfway? Is it an impasse? What's next? Like, it has to be purposeful, because if you make it about winning, that is a rabbit hole. It's a barrel with no bottom. You're trying to get to the end. You will just be tit for tat, going back and forth. And then at some point, you will forget what you're arguing about. You will get to a place where there's a back and forth happening, and you can't even give it context. Like, what are we talking about? So a disagreement has to be purposeful, and it has to have a reason, because why are we talking about it? And it has to have respect, space, and it has to have an end goal in mind, and it has to be done in a trusting space where I recognize that there are strong emotions attached to this topic for you. I recognize that this might be important for you, and so I'm giving you permission to communicate with me in a way that is true to yourself and natural, because you're upset, but that doesn't cross the boundaries of being, abrasive or aggressive or disrespectful. So it's possible. Like, anger is a valid emotion. You're not going to see things eye to eye, and I think it comes with practice, right? You have to practice that, being in that space of conflict. Conflict resolution is such I feel like it's a skill that's lacking in a lot of young people. It's a skill that's lacking sometimes in cultures, in relationships, in workplaces. People do not know how to disagree respectfully in regards to what a healthy disagreement looks like. It looks like respect, and it looks like I want to hear you. I'm not trying to win. I want to see what you're saying. I value your perspective. I want to hear you, and I want you to hear me, and I want us to come to a resolution. And I'm willing to take as long as it needs to. And I'm recognizing that this is not probably going to get resolved today, and that's okay. How much should outside opinions influence your relationship? It's a very good question. At first, I wanted to say none, but no. I think we are a community, right? I think we are wired to be among other people. And that socialization is beneficial because we're different. We have different skill sets. We have different perspectives. We have different strengths and weaknesses. So we work together and form this beautiful system of support and help and wisdom and love and peace and safety and security. So that's why we need people around us. So even though a couple is a unit for themselves, they will benefit from the positive influence of others. And even when they go through situations where they encounter negative influences, then they learn from that as well. This is a really good question, right? If you were having we'll look at the question again. I'm trying to see. How much should outside opinions influence your relationship? How much? It's a gray area. I don't know if there's a measurement. I wouldn't say never, and I wouldn't say that it should override the goal that the both of you have. I think you should agree on what advice you accept, but then that agreement might not always be there. I don't know. I think it's a case-by-case situation. Some couples need help. Some people, some individuals in relationships need advice. And so as someone embarking on a healthy relationship, I think it's important to have a support system. You need to have other people around you, other couples who you connect with, or another couple that you can lean on. And at one point, you might be the one that they're leaning on as well. But in the same way that when you're in college, when you're at work, if you have a hobby, if you play a favorite sport, if you're into anything, you surround yourself with other people who are like-minded. I mean, that's how organized religion works. You're in a space where people also have the same belief system that you do. So when you are in lifelong committed relationships, I think it's very important to have other couples that you and your partner can hang out with, talk to, to discuss confidential issues with, support each other. I think it's important because the idea of being in a lifelong bonded marriage relationship does take work, and it is a complex, evolving system and dynamic. So it needs a village, right? Like raising a child, sustaining a marriage needs a village. I'm sure there are couples who say, anything that happens between us stays between us, and that might work for them. And I think there are other couples whose relationships and marriages did not survive. And I think as it was deteriorating, they might have thought, I wish we had someone we can go to that we trusted, who knew us and understood us. And there might be couples who are very open to opinions and thoughts, and they allow other people's perspective in their relationships. If I had to choose which one was more important, I would definitely say that the final decision should be made by the couple, and it should be made in agreement. So the question says, outside opinions influence. I think you can take it, as we say, with a grain of salt. Take this perspective together with your partner, and then the two of you should agree on if that advice is going to have any weighting in your relationship whatsoever. So I think that's how that should work. What does it actually take to fall in love again after years together? So, as someone who's been married for 21 years, I want to say that the term fall in love is tricky. It's kind of like forgiveness and trust and kindness, these very vague, broad words that are open to multiple interpretations. I don't know what falling in love again really means, but I do know that a relationship is a thing, right? It's a living thing, right? And when people say relationships end, I feel like it's not the right word. But when you say something ends, it's like a race ends. A race is structured to have a start and a finish, right? But that's not the way relationships are. They're meant to last. They're meant to outlast the people who are participating in them. So relationships don't end as much as they die. They die because we don't water them, we don't feed them, we don't nurture them. We just allow them to flourish on their own. It's like when you buy a plant and you ask the gardener or the person who is the salesperson, like, do I need to water it a lot? Like, what does it need? Does it need sunlight? I need something I can just stick by my window, throw some water on it when I remember and I want it to thrive. I need something robust that can survive my, bad treatment. And sometimes people treat their relationships like that. They just want, it to be very low level maintenance, and just, throw some water on it once in a while, feed it, give it some attention. But it really, it's a very delicate plant. It's like, think of, a cactus versus an orchid, right? An orchid needs that spring mist. It needs, not direct sunlight all the time. It's a very beautiful, delicate thing that needs care and attention. And that's what your relationship is. It's a beautiful, delicate, yet robust, strong system that can support you, but also clothe you and comfort you. It can shelter you like a brick house. It can also keep you afloat like a cloud. Relationships are very complex, and they need time and attention. They need daily attention. They need weekly attention. I saw a coach, a marriage coach, said that couples should spend about 90 minutes a week checking in with each other. You should really sit and just literally look at your partner and say, what's up? How are you doing? What's going on with you? Like, tell me something that happened this week that I don't already know. Like, tell me something that made you smile this week, or, tell me something that is making you anxious, or, something. I mean, that I'm a conversationist. That may be my approach, but, there's really no excuse in 2025. There is information overload as to strategies and tactics and approaches and principles and, love language. And you have so much information as to how to keep your relationship afloat. So I don't know if it's about falling back in love, but it's about keeping the love alive and keeping it thriving. And I think you do that by just reminding yourself of what an amazing person you chose, right? And sometimes it takes writing that stuff in a jar. One of my friends said that in their couples therapy session, the therapist told them that every time they think of a amazing thing about their spouse, they just write it on a Post-it and stick it in a jar. So he has his jar in the garage and she has her jar in her office, a little home office. So whenever he does something that makes her smile, or she just remembers something, his hands are so soft, she just writes it on a Post-it and just folds it and just throws it in the jar, and it just stays there. And it just gets filled up. And it's a little things, memories, things they do, something that makes you smile. You might just sit there and say, I love your eyes. You have the most amazing eyes. And you write that down and you put it in there. And the purpose of that is when things get crazy and you really want to fight and you want to argue and you're just looking at this person and wondering, oh my God, who is this? What have I done? Who is this human I'm bound to? You can just go in the jar and you pick something out and you just start reading them. And in some sessions, they told them to read it to each other. I don't know if you're ready to read it to each other, but it's supposed to be a very disarming experience to really go and take something out of there and just like, okay, let me remember, he's a good person, he's excellent, he's kind, he's giving. Okay, let me just, put myself in remembrance of those things. So I think that's the kind of thing that keeps a marriage alive. It's not easy. What is easy in life? Nothing is easy. Work isn't easy. Studying isn't easy. Parenting isn't easy. Working out isn't easy. Eating healthy isn't easy. But you have to pick your heart. Pick what you want to be easy. Divorce isn't easy. Working on your marriage isn't easy. Which heart do you want to do? So and the rewards are there. So you just have to choose the difficulty that pays off in the end. And so to keep love alive or to fall back into love, I would tell a couple to try that. Just look at this person that you're probably disgusted with, the person that you dislike. And if you want this relationship to work, take a deep breath, reflect. Get a little piece of Post-it or just, paper and a little box, a container, and just write. It can be one word or two phrases. Just write the things about this person that are amazing and just fold it and stick it. I think if you think about a person that you're with and you think of all the things about this person that's exceptional and wonderful, and then you think about the things about this person that is challenging, that you disagree with, that saps your energy or that requires compromise, right? More that requires compromise, and that there's disagreement. And you look at those two, if there's 80%, there might be 20% of things that you just have to accept. There is no perfect human being. We're all flawed. And outside of abuse and danger, if someone has behaviors or practices or perspectives in their life that you disagree with, then that might be okay. And that might you might be able to accept those, and eventually you might be able to discuss that, and you might be able to make peace and say, I don't think we will ever see this the same way. And outside of something being toxic and dangerous, I think that it's okay to have some of those things. And you may encounter those when you're dating, or you may encounter some of them when you're married, and you just have to take time and change your approach to those things and accept them in the end, right? So I think that's our 10 questions, 10 tough questions about marriage and relationships. So if you have any comment or feedback on questions 1 to 10, please put it in the comments. If this channel is bringing any value to your life, if you enjoy these videos, please like and comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in.